Welcome back, everybody. Ready for another deep dive. Today, we're taking a closer look at the death of singer Liam Payne.
Yeah, this one's been all over the headlines.
It really has. We're focusing on an article from Perez Hilton about some pretty shocking allegations, so buckle up, because things are about to get complicated. Conflicting accounts, potential legal trouble, maybe even a little mystery, you know?
It did seem like a straightforward accident at first.
It did, didn't it?
But then the story starts to unravel.
It does, like peeling back the layers of an onion. Okay, so it all starts back on October 16th with Liam Payne's fall from a balcony at the Casa Sur Palermo Hotel in Buenos Aires.
Right, and you might think, okay, fall from balcony must be an accident, but the police reports indicate there's something more to it.
Oh,
Payne was heavily intoxicated,
wow.
like likely unconscious when he hit the ground.
Oh my gosh, that's heartbreaking. Makes me wonder what happened in those hours leading up to it.
Yeah, and that's what really prompted the investigation.
It did.
And charges against 3 people.
Yep.
We've got Rogelio Norris, Payne's friend and manager who was with him in Argentina,
Okay.
an unnamed hotel worker, and then, of course, the alleged drug supplier, Braian Nahuel Paiz.
This Paiz guy seems to be at the center of a lot of the controversy here. His initial interview with Telefe Noticias was pretty explosive. He claimed to have spent the night with Payne just 3 days before the fall, even admitted to doing drugs with him.
And remember, in legal cases, those involved will often have their own narratives, their own sides to the story, you know?
Absolutely. It's like a big game of chess. Everyone's trying to protect themselves, right?
Exactly. Now, Paiz doesn't just admit to using drugs with Payne. He mentions an intimate moment between them.
Oh.
But he's incredibly vague about what that actually means.
Okay, so he throws that out there, but no real explanation. What do you make of that?
Well, maybe he's trying to show a close relationship with Payne, get some sympathy, maybe even cast doubt. Like, why would I hurt someone I was close to? You know?
That's interesting. So then he goes on to describe Payne as non-aggressive and sweet. Even tells a story about Payne wanting to bring a fan back to the hotel, but Pay's declining because he had to work.
Could be a way to portray himself as, like, the responsible one, looking out for Payne. But it also raises the question, why mention it at all? What purpose does that detail serve?
It does make you wonder if he's trying to get ahead of any concerns that he enabled Payne, you know.
Right.
Okay, but just when you think you're starting to understand his angle, he does another interview and changes everything.
Classic defense tactic when your story's falling apart under pressure.
So what exactly does he change his mind on?
First, he claims Telefe Noticias edited his interview, put words in his mouth.
Oh, wow.
But he doesn't specify which words, a common tactic for discrediting the media.
So basically, don't trust what you heard, even though I'm not going to say what's wrong.
Exactly. Then he walks back the intimate moment claim, insists it wasn't sexual, but still refuses to explain what he meant.
Ugh. It's like he's trying to be mysterious, right?
Yeah.
Maybe to distract from other things.
Perhaps.
Well, speaking of distractions, there's the mystery of the missing Rolex. Payne was wearing a very expensive watch when he died.
Right.
But it disappeared afterwards.
Vanished.
Poof. Paiz, of course, says he didn't take it, even offers to show it on camera if he had it.
That missing watch is a very curious detail. It could just be a coincidence.
It could be.
But it's hard to ignore, especially with everything else going on.
It is. Then to add to this already bizarre story, Paiz mentions that Payne offered him clothes during their time together.
Okay, now things are getting interesting. Why offer clothes? It suggests a closeness, a vulnerability, maybe.
It's definitely odd. And to make things even weirder, Paiz says he only accepted a drawing from Payne.
Could be a way to hint at a deeper connection, something artistic, maybe?
Okay.
But it also begs the question, if he was offered clothes, what else was offered? What else might he have accepted?
Good point. And just when you think it can't get any wilder, Paiz throws out this bombshell.
Yeah.
He claims Payne's relationship with Kate Cassidy was fake.
Oh, wow, yeah. This accusation about Cassidy feels like a classic deflection tactic.
Like, don't look at me, look at them.
Exactly. He claims he saw something on Payne's computer that proves it, but he doesn't give any details.
So just another unsubstantiated claim.
Essentially, just hearsay, maybe to sow some doubt.
It definitely raises a ton of questions. Like, is Paiz trying to make it seem like everyone around Payne was deceptive, manipulating him?
Could be. It's like he's painting himself as the only one who knew the real Liam Payne. But we have to ask, is this genuine or is it calculated?
Right. And despite all these outlandish claims, Paiz still says he's innocent, insists he's got proof, even.
Of course he does. But where is it? If he has this proof, why not just show it?
Yeah. It seems convenient to keep it hidden while making all these accusations against everyone else, right?
Exactly. And that brings us to a huge conflict in his story. Paiz denies giving Payne any drugs, claims he only drank alcohol and vaped. But that goes directly against the toxicology report, which found cocaine and antidepressants in Payne's system.
Okay, so how do we square those two things?
That's the question, isn't it? Either Paiz is flat out lying, maybe to minimize his involvement, or maybe Payne got the drugs from someone else entirely.
That's true. We know Payne had struggles with substance abuse and mental health. It's possible he had other sources for drugs.
Absolutely.
And then, just to make things even more confusing, Paiz throws out this whole conspiracy theory. Says someone is trying to frame him.
Another classic defense tactic, right?
Oh, yeah.
Trying to cast doubt on the investigation, make himself look like the victim.
Wow, this is a lot to process.
Yeah.
We've got conflicting accounts, shifting narratives, and some pretty bold accusations.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here?
Well, that's where we need your help. We've laid out the players, the main points of disagreement, but now it's time to connect the dots.
Right. We've given you the evidence, the claims. Now it's time to put on your detective hats. Do you believe Paiz? Would seem suspicious. Who has the most to gain from all this?
Don't forget, every detail, every statement could be a clue to what really happened to Liam Payne. So as we continue to sort through all these claims and counterclaims, it's important to remember that investigations like this often rely on creating a solid timeline.
You're so right. It's all about putting together the sequence of events, like who was where and when. Which brings us to the hotel staff, right?
Absolutely. The unnamed hotel worker who was charged, remember?
Yeah.
Along with Paiz and Payne's manager.
Right.
That person could have crucial insights into Payne's activities, his state of mind in those final hours.
But it's not just about witness statements, right?
Right.
We've also got physical evidence.
Exactly.
Like security footage, key card records, maybe even room service orders.
Exactly. Those little details can either back up or completely contradict the stories we're hearing. Like, imagine if Paiz claims he wasn't at the hotel the night Payne died. But then security footage shows him there.
Well, that would certainly throw a wrench in his story.
Mm-hmm.
And what about that abandonment of a person followed by death charge? What does that actually mean, legally speaking?
It's a complicated one, but basically it suggests that those charged had a duty of care to Payne.
Okay.
Because they knew he was vulnerable due to intoxication.
Right.
And that they didn't help him, which led to his death.
So it's not just about supplying drugs or alcohol. It's about whether they took steps to keep him safe, knowing he was clearly in a bad way.
Exactly. And that's where Paiz's earlier claim about not letting Payne bring a fan back to the hotel, you know?
Yeah.
That becomes even more interesting.
It does. Because on the one hand, he's trying to come across as responsible, looking out for Payne. But on the other hand, if he knew how intoxicated Payne was, shouldn't he have done more?
Exactly. That's something investigators are going to be looking into.
For sure.
Any inconsistencies that might support that abandonment charge.
Speaking of inconsistencies, can we talk about the missing Rolex for a second?
Sure.
Do you think it could actually be a key piece of evidence here?
It's possible. Imagine if it turns up in Paiz's possession.
Yeah.
Could link him directly to the scene, maybe even suggest he had a reason to steal it. But, of course, we can't jump to conclusions.
Right. Someone else could have taken it, or Payne could have just misplaced it. But then why would Paiz be so adamant about not having it, even offering to show it on camera?
Good point. It almost seems like he's trying a little too hard to distance himself from it.
It does.
What do you think? Does that reaction to the missing Rolex make him seem more or less suspicious? What do you think?
I'm still trying to figure that one out. But while we're talking about Paiz's statements, I can't get over his claim about seeing something on Payne's computer that supposedly proved his relationship with Cassidy was fake.
Yeah, that one's particularly troubling because it could really damage her reputation.
It could.
And legally speaking, there could be consequences for making unsubstantiated claims like that.
So it's not just gossip. It could have real legal implications.
It could.
But what's his motive? Why say something like that without giving any details?
Well, he could be trying to stir up trouble among those close to Payne.
Okay.
Create distrust, maybe weaken their testimonies. Classic divide and conquer.
So instead of defending himself, he's trying to deflect by creating chaos within Payne's inner circle.
Exactly. He's introducing this whole new drama, this potential scandal, as a distraction.
Clever.
Yeah.
But like we said, it doesn't address those inconsistencies in his own story or that physical evidence that doesn't match up with what he's saying.
Exactly.
And when it comes to those inconsistencies, the toxicology report is a big one. Paiz says Payne only drank alcohol and vaped.
Right.
But the report clearly shows cocaine and antidepressants. How do we make sense of those two things?
That is the question. It's possible Paiz is lying about the drugs, maybe to downplay his own involvement. Or maybe Payne got them from someone else entirely.
We know Payne struggled with substance abuse.
Yeah.
It's not impossible that he had other connections for drugs. And this brings us to Payne's manager, Rogelio Norris. He was with Payne in Argentina.
He was.
And as his manager, you'd think he had some responsibility to ensure his safety.
For sure. And that's something we haven't touched on much, his role in all this.
What kind of legal trouble could he be facing?
Well, as Payne's manager, he probably had a fiduciary duty to look out for Payne's best interests. If he knew about Payne's struggles and didn't try to stop him from accessing drugs or putting himself in dangerous situations...
I could definitely put him in hot water.
It could.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if they can prove he was negligent.
Right.
And remember, this investigation isn't over.
It's not.
They'll be looking into Nor's actions, what he said, what he did,
Right.
to figure out if he played a role in Payne's intoxication.
So we've got Paiz claiming innocence but contradicting the toxicology report. We've got Nor's, whose role is still being investigated. It's like we're trying to solve a puzzle with missing pieces.
Exactly. And as we keep analyzing the evidence, it's important to keep the bigger picture in mind. This is about more than just a legal case. This is a tragedy, you know?
It is.
It shows how devastating substance abuse can be and the complicated world that surrounds fame and fortune.
You're absolutely right. It's easy to get caught up in the legal drama, but at the end of the day, a young man lost his life. You know, as we wrap this up, I can't help but think about the pressures of fame.
Yeah.
And how that might have played a role in all of this.
It's definitely something to think about. Being a celebrity, especially someone like Liam Payne, who got famous so young,
Yeah.
it comes with so much scrutiny, crazy schedules, this constant need to keep up a certain image.
And let's be honest, the music industry is notorious for substance abuse problems. It's almost like a hidden danger.
It's true, the industry is demanding.
Yeah.
There's always that pressure to perform, to maintain your public persona.
Right.
It can lead to some really unhealthy coping mechanisms.
It can.
And substance abuse, sadly, becomes a way to deal with all that stress.
It's sad, but it's true. Makes you wonder, were there any signs in Payne's case? Anything that indicated he needed help?
I'm sure investigators are looking into that, talking to those who knew him,
Yeah.
trying to find patterns, changes in his behavior, any red flags that pointed to a problem.
And this is where I think Payne's manager's role becomes even more important. If Norris knew about these struggles, did he do anything to help? Did he try to intervene?
That's going to be a big question if any legal action is taken against him. As a manager, you have a responsibility to protect your client, and that includes their well-being. If he knew about a problem and didn't do anything, he could be in big trouble.
It's a complicated situation, no doubt. And it shows just how important it is to be proactive about mental health and substance abuse in the entertainment world.
I agree. We need to build a culture of support where people feel safe asking for help.
Right, without judgment or fear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that support can't just be for the individual, you know? It needs to include family, friends, colleagues. Everyone needs to understand the signs so they can step in and offer help.
You're right. It's about creating a safety net, a group of people who can recognize those warning signs and connect someone with the right resources.
Absolutely. We need to shift the focus from just reacting to tragedies like what happened with Payne to preventing them.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, it leaves me with one final thought for all of you listening. What did you take away from all of this?
Yeah.
Was it the legal stuff, the personal struggles, the bigger issues at play?
Yeah, what resonated with you the most?
Because Liam Payne's death, it's more than just a headline.
Right.
It's a reminder of how important mental health is, the devastating impact of substance abuse.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we need a more supportive, a more compassionate approach within the entertainment industry, and honestly, everywhere.
Well said. Thanks for joining us as we explored this difficult topic. Remember, knowledge is power. The more we understand these issues, the better equipped we are to help, to make a difference.